Welcome to the Steve Reeve Podcast with the best moments from the past week and a few things that didn't make it to air. Monday.
Talking about garage sales, yard sales, got it on the brain. We've got to do one. It's just the fact of the matter after a weekend spent, in the spaces you don't get into all that often, hauling out the closets, getting into this side of this storage area. And it's just clear there's some stuff that's built up. We're not using it, and maybe it could go help somebody else out. But I love the idea that it's kind of like hey, how about you pay us to declutter our place? But there's value in some of the stuff. The whole idea, one person's trash is another person's treasure. What you just want to get out of your life might be just the thing that somebody else is looking for. As I get older, I can tell I'm getting older because I start to just see just this intrinsic value in things that were made in a time from before now. just immediately we'll be like, well, that's quality workmanship right there. That's how that goes. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, they knew how to make stuff. Nowadays, it's all crap. It was crap then. It probably was anyway. But there are some things that are absolutely treasures that do last through time and should probably find a home, a place where they will get a little bit more appreciation. And if I can make 10, 20 bucks off of that, then hey, everybody's winning here, right? Just don't check where I glued it back together.
It's time for Cruz Music News with Steve Reeve.
Well, the sad news of Steve Albany's passing, a legendary music producer, has now turned into people really curious about what might be available with an estate sale selling items from the archives, including, of course, all kinds of physical media, CDs, records, books, magazines, t-shirts, etc. There's a ton of stuff. Albums on sale and even some things that were never really available to the public. Pearl Jam had a guest, Peter Frampton, none other than, joining them in Nashville for a rendition of the song Black. There's footage online right now. They're on their Dark Matter World Tour, which brought them by Music City just last week. And big song set list in their playlist. Of course, they had to make some time, make some room for Mr. Frampton, as you should. And Judas Priest's Rob Halford isn't so happy that he's not going to be at the final Black Sabbath show. We've been talking about this a lot. A farewell with Ozzy Osbourne making it his last live performance, and of course the band reuniting as the original lineup as much as possible. But I guess Rob Halford, Judas Priest, not going to be involved. He said, I had no idea it was happening. He's actually going to be in Germany with the Scorpions on July 5th, the very night that the event is happening. Well, like the rest of us, I'm sure he'll be able to watch the live stream after the fact at some point. That's it for your music news this morning.
You're listening to the Steve Reeve Podcast from 100.5 Cruz FM.
Coming up on a pretty big milestone. I don't have the exact date, but it was back in 1950 when an amendment to the Agricultural Pests Act of Alberta effectively began the rat-free period of time in our province. It's been 75 years as of this coming summer. It was in that year that rats were declared a pest. Norway rats were discovered in Alberta in 1950 as well, prompting all this. A farm near Alaska on the eastern border, or Alsask, I guess, which really just to sound like they named something the border between Alberta and Saskatchewan. I got to do more research into that. I digress. But there's, of course, a lot of concern with plague and disease and the effect that would have agriculturally. Got to be profound, so we just nipped it in the bud right there. Not meaning that there are no rats in Alberta ever, just meaning that they're never, since 1950, able to establish a population within the borders. It's kind of crazy. You love it too. That map of like where rats exist in the world. And there's all of North America. I mean, most of the world, sure, but all of our continent except for a little Alberta-shaped hole right there in the middle. It's bizarre, but it's kind of amazing.
I always thought it was going to be canceled, and it was a giant hit. It was a giant hit.
Huge show.
And like immediately, it was a hit. I was like, this is so stupid. The show is so stupid.
Joe Rogan of Fear Factor fame, right? And nothing else. Definitely not his podcast that he's printing money with. That gets listened to by so many people. Apparently they're bringing Fear Factor back, though. Fear Factor's coming back. It's going to be called Fear Factor The Next Chapter. Whoa. I guess. Fox is going to be rebooting it. They're actually also grabbing another former NBC show, The Weakest Link. I don't know if it's going to be hosted by Jane Lynch as well, and nobody has any idea about the host for the Fear Factor one as well. They say that they haven't even hired somebody to run the show yet, and they're only in the discussing potential hosts conversation right now. And I guess that does include Joe Rogan in the conversations, at least before he gets to be part of the conversations, that is, because good luck. Like, I'm sorry. We're going to have a different host, and they're going to try and make it happen again, and maybe it'll be as successful as it was the first time around. It was an instant hit in the early 2000s. Instant hit. But something tells me it's not going to have the exact same trajectory, and I can absolutely guarantee one person who's not going to be hosting it.
They came to me, though, before this. I'm like, there's not enough money. You don't have enough money
to go. Like, you would never host it again.
Oh,
really?
It's over. I did it. I'm so not interested.
Well,
but I'm glad I did do it.
And that's not even his quotes on this run of the show. That was from the previous time that they rebooted it with Ludacris, not him.
Tuesday.
I gotta give a thank you. It's sincere. A big shout out for the people that are doing the line painting on the roads. We saw it over the weekend a lot, and so many places now with their tired, old, faded, and cracked paint lines looking fresh. This is fantastic. This is a good thing. It's great. But can we also get lines painted where there aren't any lines anymore on the road? You know what I mean? Like, I'm seeing where lines have been repainted and they're looking fresher than they did. But I'm specifically talking about the places where they just don't exist anymore at all and are needed. I'd argue those places matter more than pretty much anywhere else where you actually can see something. But then again, we all know it's Fort McMurray. It's just like the opening to Whose Line Is It Anyway? You know what I mean? Like, welcome to Fort McMurray, where the lanes are made up and the road lines don't matter. Paramount Plus, if you're a subscriber, they are diving into the vault. Specifically, they have released a whole bunch of MTV Unplugged episodes. Over 50 episodes with live performances, including all kinds of really incredible acts, have been added. With, as well, CMT Crossroads and VH1 Storytellers episodes. But some of these from the MTV Unplugged series have not been available for 2 decades to the public. So a whole bunch of stuff. Pearl Jam, Paul McCartney, Oasis, Alanis Morissette, Bob Dylan, Alice in Chains, and of course, yes, Nirvana is in there for sure. Red Hot Chili Peppers, specifically frontman Anthony Kiedis, in the news because of coffee. Apparently a concert-friendly canned coffee brand that's going to be called Jolene is on the way. And it's with a deal with Live Nation, putting it into concert venues, festivals, amphitheaters. That's the concert-friendly part. But apparently it's an all-female co-op in Peru being supported and supplied from. And as long as the flavor's good, people are going to be jonesing for some coffee while they're rocking out or listening to folk, whatever they do at the festivals. Big news for David Draymond of Disturbed. Congratulations must be going out, because in Sacramento they were performing. They're on a big tour right now, celebrating all kinds of stuff. 25th anniversary of all kinds of things. But specifically, he stopped the show because he wanted to pose the question and propose to his girlfriend live on stage. Congratulations to the happy couple. Measles. Oh, it just drives me nuts. I'm losing my mind about this. Thankfully, new cases have been somewhat slow to arrive in the north of Alberta, but in the south and in particular areas with low child immunization rates, go figure, there's a clear bloom of new cases that will be very hard to stop or slow. Measles is extremely contagious, after all, and we've got a count of 365 total provincial cases. 39 new cases of measles in the province just recently. Herd immunity is the key, and some just don't want to participate. What bothers me, though, really is more about how low of a priority this discussion point seems to be from the provincial government. I mean, we're talking so much about other things, so much talk about separation and referendums. And instead, we could be talking about how to prevent this extremely preventable disease. That is what I would like to separate from. Life in existence with diseases that we got rid of in 1997.
Wednesday.
Sad news this morning. Morris the alligator has died. You might not know who that is by name, but you've probably encountered Morris on your screen at some point. He was in Happy Gilmore. That was that alligator, yes. And Dr. Dolittle, too, apparently. And he was in TV shows, movies, scaring children from 1975 to 2006, where he retired and was living out his days at the Colorado Gator Farm. He was 9 foot long in 75, and judging by just how long he got by the end, and I guess tooth loss is one of the metrics they estimate, he was about 80 years old. They don't know exactly how old he was. Sad day. We've definitely seen Morris in a lot of things. Apparently he will be taxidermied as well and will continue to scare children, which I feel like he would have appreciated. But I had a little bit of a weird moment when I saw the news, not because of the news itself, but because it was saying, oh no, R.I.P. And it was a photo of Adam Sandler holding up a golf ball from Happy Gilmore, and I thought for a second, oh no, not Adam Sandler. And also, no, that's not the best picture to choose for this moment. Oh, it was the alligator. I see. Still sad though. Still sad. Starting off, a story about David Lee Roth coming from the mouth of Bill Hader. He was recently a guest on the Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend podcast and talked about an encounter with David Lee Roth while he was working on the South Park show alongside Trey Parker and Matt Stone. Here's what he had to say.
When I worked at South Park, he pitched a movie where he was an assassin, and he was like about a guy trying to get his dog back. And we were like, oh, and we had to say, oh, they made this movie John Wick. That's kind of similar.
Nah, but the guy has a dog?
I go, yeah, no, he has a dog.
Famously. Wait, what do you mean he's got a dog?
I feel like maybe you need to watch movies before you pitch them. But that's besides the point. We've got some updates when it comes to this weird, bizarre story. The wife of bassist Scott Schreiner in the band Weezer, her name Jillian. She is now in this middle of this legal conflict because of a shootout with the LAPD not that long ago, and now she's pleading not guilty to charges from that, including negligent use of a firearm, assault of a person with a semi-automatic weapon. She's facing 19 years in state prison. Says, nope, wasn't me, didn't do it. More to come on that, I'm sure. And finally, the Foo Fighters are going to be officially making a return to the stage. They have not since August 2024, when news broke out about frontman Dave Grohl being the illegitimate father of somebody outside of his marriage, which obviously caused some issues. He has performed here and there since then, but the band has not. They've now announced their only date for 2025 so far. They're going to be taking part in the Singapore Grand Prix Saturday, October 4th. There's going to be some very, very lucky people in that audience, having not had a chance to get any Foo Fighters in their lives for the last year. I'm fascinated by lazy, healthy behavior. It's great to challenge yourself and to make tough decisions that have the best long-term impact instead of instant gratification. We know this. This is good. But sometimes making those choices is a total drag. And some people have come up with what I can only describe as the malicious compliance of self-care to kind of contend with that, specifically things like Dino Time, which my girlfriend told me about because she saw a video where to get the proper amount of leafy greens in your diet, you forget about any form of recipe and you just mainline mouthfuls of spinach and lettuce and just grind through it, sacrifice and suffer as fast as possible, and then something delicious as a chaser. It's hilarious. A new idea along those lines is human kibble, where apparently you take more than a dozen veggies, legumes, grains, proteins, whatever, and chop everything to hell and back, and then cook the whole mess in a pan. The result? Something that looks like dog food, really. Honestly, genuinely, but packs a nutritional punch. I am fascinated by lazy, healthy behavior, but I definitely couldn't live that way. It's all got to taste good to me at some point, so you got to figure out how to make those veggies taste yum.
Transmission over. Want more Steve? New podcast episodes happen every Friday, or just tune into the Steve Reeve Show. Weekday mornings starting at 5:30 a.m. on 100.5 Cruz FM.